So I've just come back from watching Kneecap. Now, this is a movie that I didn't expect to watch because it was one of these Cineworld specials where they don't tell you what the actual movie is going to be about. You rock up, you sit down, and if you like it, you stay, and if you don't like it, you leave. And I think it's quite an interesting situation because in this particular case, it certainly showed people's political leanings and political dispositions. So it's called Kneecap, the movie I watched, and I have to sort of preface it by saying I have no clue who the group are. I think I have heard of them, but I don't know what their actual political leanings are because I haven't done any research. This is a movie has come to me, and like I say, these guys could be great, they could be terrible. I don't know, so I have to be very careful on how I approach this because they are quite a political group. It's a very political story. It's set in Northern Ireland, where a lot of people don't like the English being there, and you can understand from their point of view. You know, you've got these colonizers who come in. I don't know why I did that. They literally are colonizers who came in and they want to get rid of them. But there's a lot of politics behind us, and I'm not going to get involved in it because it is very political. It was very interesting, though, to see that the cinema was about half full, maybe just a little bit less. And the moment the movie started, half of them got up and left. This is before you even had Michael Fassbender, who's in it for a very short period of time, talking to us about what's going on and how his son was brought into the world, and before you even see how the band or the hip-hop group that sings Irish came to be. A lot of people left, and it was very interesting to see that, especially in today's climate when you have things, you know, countries and situations where their own identity has been stripped, looking over it in the Middle East, you know. So yeah, that was quite interesting to see how many English people walked out, and a lot of people slowly left as it went along. And that's not because the movie was gratuitous in any particular way. It wasn't overtly sexual, it wasn't overtly violent. It is sexual and violent to certain degrees, but no more so than Trainspotting. But I suppose Trainspotting is not so overtly political that people could handle it. This movie is basically Trainspotting in today's climate, as far as the politics are concerned. That was one of the good things and bad things about it, because frankly the Trainspotting taking of drugs, where people are looking at each other and seeing people's faces turn into jukeboxes or turning into, God, that's how old I am, turning into stereos. God, even that, do we even have stereos? Do people buy stereos? But people seeing things, it's funny, but it has been done. It's a tried and a little bit boring for me because I've seen it in so many different movies. I thought the acting was pretty damn good in this. I thought the directing was pretty good as well. It has a very raw, emotional feeling, but you can see why they're doing this. They're trying to make it as raw, as emotional as possible. And like I say, the politics are literally right in your face. And like I say, I don't know much about the politics behind it. It was incredibly funny. There are some very funny moments. And the audience that was left behind, I'm assuming the people who don't mind having the fact that they're colonizers, pointed out to them. Some people don't like remembering that. America, they actually made a comment about going and watching American movies, the cowboy movies, and taking the side of the Indians. And yes, this is the sort of movie it is. And I really think it's a good movie in that sense. It's good to be reminded of these things. And as far as Northern Ireland, I don't know how many movies like this are made. I don't think many. It did very well at the Sundance Film Festival. And I can see why, because like I say, it brings up a lot of things that people don't really talk about. But again, at the same time, it's just a lot, it's very cliched. It's got that sort of, as I mentioned, you know, it's got like a full Monty vibe to it, whilst at the same time having this very heavy Trainspotting degenerates, but doing it for a good reason. And yeah, it's like, if you don't know the history of this particular group, and I don't, and that's why I'm very hesitant to say whether they are good or bad. I'm assuming that they're good because they've made a movie about it, and I'm pretty sure they wouldn't make movies about terrorist organizations. They really depict the English as being barbaric in this. They have a particular person who is the chief, I suppose, and she beats the hell out of these kids. Even today, in 2022, I'm assuming, just before 2022, they're talking about cloud-based saving of music. So it's not like it's from 40 years ago. So it's recent, and they show these people, you know, interrogations where they beat the hell out of people. So yeah, I don't think it's going particularly well. It's not going to do well in England. I think it'll do very, very well in Ireland. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it's a good eye-opener as to see how these people are affected. And at the very beginning, they talk about themselves as being not the generation of the actual IRA, but the people who suffer afterwards. You know, I think they said DNA or sort of chromosomal PTSD, where they aren't physically affected, but their culture is. So I think it's definitely worth watching. Look out for it. Kneecap. Very unusual, very funny, lots of drugs, a little bit of sex, but I think worth watching. To me, 7.5 out of 10.